Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. This video is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but there's a lot of great and vital information that you want to pay attention to here. So first off, we're going to take a look at Johnny Deaton's tweet threads here when he's quoting Rosalind Layton in her position on Ethereum, the SEC, and XRP and its status. And we're also going to take a look at this 9-minute video that the digital asset investor have put together. It's super important in regards of the shady behavior that came about when it came to the development of the Ethereum Free Pass, and then all the people involved in the Ethereum Free Pass speech, on the other end, they were, pretty much in a sense, shorting XRP. So they're going to cover that within this 9-minute video here. We're also going to be taking a look at Grayscale Renew's push with the SEC for Bitcoin spot ETF. And then the talk of the town is this whole Elon Musk finally got a hold of Twitter. So a Bitcoiner now owns Twitter. So we'll take a look at that as well. There's a lot of good information on that. But coming over here to the coin Gecko here, we're currently sitting at a $1.95 trillion market cap, currently up 0.7% for the day. And as you can see, we're seeing slow greens here. As you can see, Dogecoin is sitting at a 20.3%. Obviously, when it comes to Elon Musk and Dogecoin, they go hand in hand. So with the talks of, him owning Twitter, and then they're kind of speculating that Doge is going to be involved with Twitter somehow. So obviously, we're seeing a massive pump there. Bitcoin sitting at 40,134. And if we come in here really quick, just take a look at our 24-hour. As you can see, we did dip below this 38.5 level. So obviously it just dipped below, early this morning, and then shot right back up. So obviously there's a little bit of uncertainty in the market in regards of this Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. We're currently sitting in the extreme fear range again at 23. So this kind of been our home. We've been living in this range for, the past few months. So it really isn't the end of the world at this point for us, kind of what we've been normalized for us at this point. But, jumping into the content here, I wanted to cover this from Johnny Deaton. He's quoting Rosalind Layton, and it says, dozens of emails I've compiled by the courts could bring the SEC reckoning. So he quotes saying, Johnny Deaton quotes saying, the best conclusion was the SEC gave Ether a free pass, and that the same logic, if applied to XRP, would make it a currency. Ripple never had an ICO, and its network was fully built and decentralized before a single token sale took place. And that's from Rosalind Layton. So then over here, he says, thank goodness for journalists like Dr. Layton. She writes, quote, the SEC's flippant decision stoked a class action firestorm from the ferocious decentralized XRP community. Absolutely. They weren't anticipating Johnny Deaton in, the class action lawsuit and 66 plus thousand XRP investors to really stand up and fight the good fight against the SEC's, overstepping and over-regulating by enforcement. So absolutely, that's huge. I wanted to come in here, and there's a 9-minute video, and just quickly. So pretty much this video is going to cover, the formation of this whole Ethereum Free Pass speech. And then on the tail end of it, you can kind of see the people that are kind of involved in this. They're on the other end shorting XRP and kind of dogging and downplaying XRP on the back end of it. So it's like you can see the whole shady behavior within this 9-minute video. And I want to thank the digital asset investor for putting this up for us. So let's take a listen in.
But he then, after talking to Grunfest in a fireside chat at the Stanford campus, made his way over to see Andreessen the next morning. And this is the part that now not a lot of people know. And he invited Chris Dixon to round up the sort of the industry players who were really kind of trying to do it the right way, and asked for a couple of things. One, essentially, lay out in a very detailed, written, footnoted memo what existing law says about utility tokens, and two, give us a proposal for where to go from here. And so Andreessen, I've been representing Andreessen in all of their crypto investments since the beginning, and so I got the chance to be the one to write all that stuff. So, and I pulled in Cooley, and I pulled in a couple of law firms. So we've now got a nice little working group of law firms that are in the space that are doing this.
If we get the SEC's blessing. So the last 6 or 7 months, we've been very much engaged with the SEC on a number of fronts. One of them being Andreessen Horowitz reached out to the chairman when he made a speech at Stanford saying, we're going after the lawyers, we're going after the accountants, and sat down with him. And what the chairman of the SEC said was, look, form a small working group and come up with some suggestions. pretty much saying, look, we're tired of talking to people about the how we test. Put some real practical suggestions together. So Andreessen Horowitz, together with Union Square Ventures, sat down with 3 law firms, McDermott, Will & Emery, Perkins Coie, and Cooley, all of whom had a fairly significant crypto practice, together with 2 academics, Joe Grunfest and Adam, as well as NVCA, and we sat down and came up with a safe harbor that we felt we could, in fact, suggest to the SEC that they start their thinking in that direction. And we submitted that. Perkins Coie did a memo. And if any of you don't have those materials, just let me know. I can email them to you. They were supposed to be confidential when submitted to the SEC. Within days, they were public. In fact, as the newspaper reporters were calling me, I'm going, oh my God, how did that get out? And all of us were immediately reaching out to Andreessen Horowitz saying, we didn't send it, honest. But the really valuable work product at this point, and the reason I mention that is Director Hinman's speech that I'm sure everybody at least is familiar with or has heard about. Most of what he says in there came out of the safe harbor as well as the meetings that we had with him. And I think that's where Brad came in and made an incredibly effective presentation in one of the days that we met with a variety of people at the commission as well as the CFTC. And so we got to hear the presentation at least 6 times that day. But it was so effective, and you could see light bulbs going on in their heads as to, oh, gee, we didn't really quite grasp that concept.
Brad, do you mind giving us a summary of what you told them?
So basically we were arguing for the re-decentralization of the web, and we were pointing out that we're living in an era of very rapid consolidation around Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and that competing with those, what I will call data monopolies, is not really possible by offering a better service.
Okay, now let's talk about your fund. You've recently announced that you've got some great investors in your fund, new capitals come into your fund. Who are some of the LPs in your fund?
So we've been very lucky in that we get to work with some of the best investors on the planet as LPs. So we've recently announced Fred Wilson from Union Square Ventures has joined, or Union Square Ventures has joined Multicoin as an LP. Fred was gracious enough to announce this via blog post. He's one of my favorite bloggers. I've been following him for 10 years now. Another example of this type of trade is short Ripple, long Bitcoin. Once again, we're back to the long Bitcoin side, not particularly because we're the most bullish on Bitcoin. It's just that Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrencies with a very established value proposition. And in a bear market, I do expect to see a certain flight to quality to assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum that have real value propositions that have gotten real adoption more than like the speculative value proposition of several of the smaller or less well-known crypto assets.
Let's talk about the idiosyncratic risk around shorting XRP. What are you shorting there? What's your expectation around XRP? Why are you so comfortable to short it?
There was some other news this week, too. We have Andreessen Horowitz, one of the leading Silicon Valley venture capital firms, opening their first cryptocurrency fund, $300 million they put into it. It's the first major VC firm to open a crypto fund. You also have a crypto hedge fund. I mean, does this industry need more competition in the fund world? Does this make it harder for you to raise money?
I think it's a super good thing for the ecosystem. Chris Dixon, who's one of the GPs there, and I think Katie Hahn's the other. Chris is an LP in our fund in Multicoin. So
what's the second reason why you're not a big XRP bull?
The second biggest reason is I think that there is a real chance that XRP could be declared a security by the SEC. I don't know for sure, but based on the most recent statement where the SEC talked about Ethereum not being a security, they mostly pointed out that the Ethereum network was decentralized enough that you could no longer claim that when someone was purchasing Ethereum, that they were doing so with the expectation that there was a specific group that would be working to advance the Ethereum network and increase its price.
And you think in the case of XRP, the fact that they have a relationship with Ripple or Ripple Labs that is the problem?
Well, it's one of the reasons that I really encourage my partners to get to know you and Kyle, and ultimately led to Union Square Ventures becoming a partner at Multicoin, was that I saw the two of you write some things that were contrarian.
So right now we have, for example, shorts open on Ripple and Litecoin. When we look at Ripple, Ripple they keep selling into the market. Based on kind of the SEC's guidance from a couple weeks ago about Ether being not being a security, it's quite clear to us that Ripple is a security. We don't know when that news is going to drop, but the catalysts seem to have kind of gone away from Ripple, and we have very high conviction that it is a security. And so, as kind of the system plays out over time, we think that short will deliver idiosyncratic returns.
Pretty much saying, look, we're tired of talking to people about the Howey test. Put some real practical suggestions together. So Andreessen Horowitz, together with Union Square Ventures, sat down with 3 law firms, McDermott, Will & Emery, Perkins Coie, and Cooley, all of whom had a fairly significant crypto practice. Together with 2 academics, Joe Grunfest and Adam, as well as NVCA, and we sat down and came up with a safe harbor that we felt we could, in fact, suggest to the SEC that they start their thinking in that direction. And we submitted that. Perkins Coie did a memo. And if any of you don't have those materials, just let me know. I can email them to you. They were supposed to be confidential when submitted to the SEC. Within days, they were public. In fact, as the newspaper reporters were calling me, I'm going, oh my God, how did that get out? And all of us were immediately reaching out to Andreessen Horowitz saying, we didn't send it, honest. But the really valuable work product at this point, and the reason I mention that is Director Hinman's speech that I'm sure everybody at least is familiar with or has heard about. Most of what he says in there came out of the safe harbor as well as the meetings that we had with him.
So yeah, kind of some food for thought there. It's crazy. It says secret meetings were held at the SEC that led to the Ethereum free pass speech. We know who were in those meetings, who else had knowledge of those meetings and what was discussed, who invested with the non-public knowledge. The timeline and power oversight, freedom from information list below. So yeah, you can come in here and kind of take a look at, the names on this list. If you're in the community, do your research and see what you can surface. But this is the name that, Jason Foster and Power Oversight are seeking information in that regard. But moving on. This is from Decrypt. Grayscale renews push with SEC for Bitcoin spot ETF. The Securities and Exchange Commission has so far approved only Bitcoin futures ETF. So coming down here, it says Grayscale has renewed a months-long push to persuade the Securities and Exchange Commission to approve converting the crypto investment firm's 40 billion Bitcoin trust into an exchange-traded fund, an ETF. So obviously, we've been talking on this channel. We've been waiting for a spot Bitcoin ETF for years now, and the SEC keeps denying after deny after deny. So it's just a matter of when this thing actually pops off. And obviously, with you have Australia, you have Canada, they have their spot Bitcoin ETFs, and the U.S. is realizing that they're missing out on a lot of potential and growth and money and adoption. It's like, at what point are they actually going to throw one out? I think honestly we're closer than ever to a spot Bitcoin ETF in just a matter of time. But I'm bringing this up because Johnny Dean had a good tweet thread here, and it's responding to what Michael says here. This is it says Grayscale puts further pressure on the U.S. SEC to approve spot Bitcoin ETF, and it says, quote, Grayscale could file a lawsuit against U.S. SEC. There is no other choice if the Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF isn't approved. I truly hope this is Sunnenshin follows through. Joe Grunfest told Thinking Crypto the SEC easily loses that lawsuit. So yeah, hopefully if they try to deny Grayscale and their spot Bitcoin ETF, yeah, go after them. Absolutely. And lastly, the talk of the town. Bitcoiner now owns Twitter. So Elon Musk's bid finally got accepted. It says Elon Musk buys Twitter for $44 billion. Crypto industry reacts. The company's board of directors unanimously approved the deal on Monday, but added it was still subject to approval of Twitter stockholders. So let me see, coming out here, it says Twitter announced on Monday that it will become a privately held company following the board of directors accepting a bid for Musk to purchase the firm's stock for $54.20, so $54.20 per share in cash, roughly $44 billion. Though the transaction is expected to close in 2022, it is still subject to the approval of the Twitter stockholders as well as certain regulators. So coming down here, I like this right here. It says Elon Musk just bought Twitter. Welcome back, First Amendment. So coming over here, it's from Elon Musk. He says, yes, with the rocket ships, loves, and the stars. Says, quote, free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated, said Mr. Musk. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community as users to unlock it. All right, gonna be quite interesting to see how things turn out. And he says right here, I hope even the worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means. Absolutely. Digital Asset Investor has something to say here too, because Library said, Elon Musk, please ban Gary Gensler for misinformation. And then Digital Asset Investor says, I want Gary Gensler and his lying tweets about trying to protect investors to continue. So the lies are there for everyone to see. So this is a huge pivotal moment within, not even just, Twitter and the social platforms, but just in the crypto space as well. Obviously, we know a lot of communication happens there and a lot of information is spread through Twitter. So this is huge. I'm curious to see what Elon Musk upholds with, what he's been saying about, free speech and not suppressing anything. He's coming up with a better algorithm and having that like decentralized community in a sense. So I'm quite interested to see where that goes. But that's kind of the update of what's going on so far. Let me go ahead and refresh this really quick. We're currently up 1.1% at a $1.956 trillion market cap. So all in all, that's kind of what's going on in the market. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.